So animation context is the easiest animation subject ever, and that's just because all you do is watch animation films. So today I'm going to be talking about my first free animation context sessions because they're very easy to cover because nothing much happens in them. Basically what happens in these sessions is we get taught about animation context, so animation roots, its origins, and then we just watch animation films. And that's just about it. So these sessions are taught by a guy called Johnny, who looks like Tom and Giant's Bane if he was shorter and didn't have a beard. And for our first session, nothing much happened. We learned about timing and spacing, which are basically vital, they're like the fundamental principles of animation. And then we watched a very cool pixelation animation called Notes on Biology. Basically about a class student who absent-mindedly doodles in his textbook and then they turned that into an actual animation. And that was really interesting and really cool, and it was actually really well done, and I'll put a link in the description to the video so you can watch it for yourself. So our second session was a lot more time period based. We went right back to the beginning with a video explaining the roots of animation, and it was actually really interesting because stuff like cave paintings and Greek pottery and hieroglyphs, which I learned about at primary school but never really thought much of, that turns out were the roots of animation. Like Greek pottery, the characters drawn on the sides, the idea was that you would spin it around and then you could see a story being told, which was actually really interesting because I just assumed they were pictures like hieroglyphs and cave paintings, but they were actually meant to be basically the first ever animation films. And another interesting fact is that most animation tech came from magicians, because like animation, they are creating illusions, and pixelation animation or fliporamas or whatever, they're creating the illusion of movement with still drawings, and that's basically what magicians used to and still do. I also learned that some of my favourite cartoon shows like Family Guy and Rick and Morty use Toon Boom. And finally, for my third animation context session, basically we watched a documentary about the surprisingly rocky road that Disney went through during the late 90s. It was basically in a period where their films started going downhill, and then they got resurrected with films like Lion King and Beauty and the Beast. But because my Casebook entry would be unusually short if I just left it here, I'm also going to be talking about an animation short which I have rewatched recently. The animation in question is Simon's Cat, which I know some of you may have heard of. It's a black and white animation, or at least it started that way, of basically a cat and his various antics with his owner, Simon, and it's basically based off the animator guy who is called Simon, and the various habits of the cats that he owned. But if you do watch them, then you'll see there is a massive quality difference, because the first one was literally Simon animating on his own, and now he's doing 15-minute films in full colour at an amazing level of quality because he's got a whole team, and that is because his animations were so good and so funny and just something, you know, really new. And the short in particular that I want to talk about today, again, link in the description, is Catman-Do. And the premise for this animation is actually really simple. Basically, it is literally just Simon sleeping in bed and then Simon's cat attempting to wake him up because it's hungry. And that's the entire animation. So yeah, I just wanted to bring your attention to that. Link again in the description alongside Notes on Biology, so you can check them out for yourself if you haven't already. Thanks for watching. Ow.